What is going on, guys? It's Jono. Today, we're gonna be building out a system for you in the next few minutes where you can supercharge ChatGPT. You can literally put it on steroids, turn it into like the Arnold Schwarzenegger of AI systems. In this tutorial, it's super fast to set up. And the cool thing is I didn't even know that you could connect ChatGPT into like literally thousands of other applications. Literally, take a look at this. So I'm gonna call myself, okay? And usually you're not supposed to be able to do this in ChatGPT, but take a look at this. So call Jono Catliff. And it is going to ask me for my permission. Thank you very much, ChatGPT. That's very kind of you to ask for my permission. And in a matter of a couple seconds, I'm gonna receive a phone call on my phone. So as you can see right there, I'm gonna pick this up and let's take a listen to the message.
This call will now connect you together with Jono Catliff.
Well, thank you very much, AI bot. So that's essentially how you can call somebody, and you don't have to just obviously call yourself, but maybe you want to schedule a call with one of your other team members with the client, for example. You could do that using this workflow. Here's another case scenario for it. Maybe you have a contract, right? And you just want to extract the information, right, from this contract. Maybe somebody sends over a paper document, you have to scan it, upload it, and then you want to extract it into text so you can add it to like a database, your CRM, or start a workflow or whatever, right? We're gonna go ahead and do that and extract all the important information. So using this, we're going to upload a document from our computer here, okay? And we're just gonna say, please, I'm Canadian, so I'm always super polite even to ChatGPT, but please process this contract. Please, and maybe another please, and then maybe another please. The stereotype about Canadians is definitely true. Okay, we're gonna click confirm here, and it's gonna send this over to be processed. Let's take a look at the results here. Now we have the date, we have the start time, we have the end time. Let's just confirm that these are correct here. So it looks good to me. So 12 a.m. is the start time, and then 1:15 is the end time. The reason the duration, by the way, it doesn't work here is because I actually made a mistake and I put the duration just as randomly typing in numbers as a test, but it's 3 hours here, even though the duration is really 1 hour and 15 minutes. So it obviously confused ChatGPT. And then the tax is 20 cents, discount is 0, and the total is $4.20 down here. So this is good to go. Now you can do this, of course, with contracts. You can also do this with receipts as well. Let's say, for example, you wanted to send a task to yourself or to somebody else on the team. You can also do that. You can come in here frantically at 2 a.m. in the morning when you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I gotta frickin' schedule this task for this person that has to be done tomorrow, or it's like a fire level emergency. You can just come in here and say, please create a ClickUp task. And the cool thing about this one is it's actually going to tell you what needs to be included in here. So it's gonna say, hey, well, you know, we need the details of the task. We can't just create a task without any details. So give us the title, the description, the due date, the assignee, priority, and an estimated time required for this to be completed. So I'm gonna say title is test. Actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and write in test. Description is test description. I know, super original. The due date is tomorrow, assignee is myself, and priority is normal, and we're gonna do estimated time is 5 minutes. Okay, sweet, that looks good to me. We're gonna fire this off, and this should appear in a matter of a couple seconds in ClickUp as well. So it says the task was completed successfully. Let's take a look, and there we go. So we got the task in here. It's assigned as a normal priority, due tomorrow. It's assigned to me, all that kind of stuff. So that's freaking sweet. There's a million things that you can do. Obviously, like just uploading it to, for example, Google Sheets or ClickUp, you know, that's pretty basic. But once again, you're connecting it into make.com here, right? And with make.com, you can connect it to literally thousands of applications. You can just scroll down this list. Pretty much every application you probably use is going to be in here, and we're going to be building the system out from the ground up. So even if you don't know anything about ChatGPT, even if you don't know anything about make.com, well, maybe you might need to know like a tiny bit, but as long as you know like the very basics, we're going to be covering pretty much everything so that, you know, in this video, you'll understand how to get this set up from the ground up. And before we begin, guys, just make sure to subscribe down below if you like content like this, because I will be releasing a video almost every single day very similar to this one. So if you like this content, you'll probably like other content that I'm releasing as well. Let's dive into it. So let's build this out together. Now, we're going to need two different pieces of technology. We need ChatGPT, okay? With ChatGPT, you do need the premium version, so you will be paying like 20 bucks a month or whatever if you want to build out this workflow. So just keep that in mind. Now with Make.com, which is the second piece of software we're using, you can get started for free, right? Now, ultimately speaking, you're probably going to want to upgrade Make.com because it's so powerful, and you're probably going to quickly realize that it's going to automate so many tasks for you. Now, if you're a complete beginner in both of these technologies, no worries, I'll quickly give you a recap of how this works. Make.com automates thousands of different software applications together. So this is a pretty good diagram down here of what happens. In Make.com, you have triggers which start workflows, right? And then you have actions that happen after something starts. So for example, you can have a trigger be a form submission. So when somebody fills out, think about like when you inquire on a website for a service, you fill out your first name, last name, email, phone number, and that's the starting point. And then, an action could be sending off a text message, adding somebody to a CRM, sending them an invoice, whatever. But in this case, what the trigger would be is you actually coming in here and being like, hey, ChatGPT or my personal assistant that's going to do anything for me. Can you please make sure to, for example, extract all the information we need from this contract so we can dump that into a Google Sheet, right? Which is what we're building out right now, right? So that's kind of how it works. This is awesome, right? So let's get started. Now, what you're going to need to do is just create an account for both if you haven't done so already, and then we can get started building this out. Now, in the description below, I do have a link, right? So you're going to need to go to the description. You're going to need to get the blueprints for this. That is pretty much, mandatory if you want to follow along here. But in that blueprint, we're going to have a link to this custom ChatGPT that I created. Now, the cool thing about this is it's literally going to use artificial intelligence to guide you through the whole setup installation process of this so that you can get exactly what you're looking for. There's going to be 3 steps to this. Step number 1 is we have to add in some basic information. Then step number 2, or step number 3, I guess. So number 1 and 2 is adding basic information. Step number 3 is just going to be telling ChatGPT what it is that you want to perform, what information you're looking for. Right. So now that we've signed up for Make.com, what we're going to do is we're actually going to log into it. I don't know why this is giving me such a hard time here. And I'll give you a secret of Make.com. You're going to spend 99.8% of your time in the scenarios tab. And once you click into the scenarios tab, you're going to want to create a new scenario. That's pretty much everything you're going to need to know in the software, right? Because it's all about automating processes, and this is how you do it. So we're going to log into a scenario, and you're going to be confronted by this massive, unavoidably large purple plus circle. We're going to click on that, and we're going to choose a webhook. Now, what a webhook is it's a fancy way of saying, hey, I'm going to receive information from somewhere else, right? So how Make.com works is that you send information in. So like think about that form example. You send information from a form into Make.com, and then you use that data to do whatever it is that you want to do with it. So in this case, if we're, for example, trying to extract information in ChatGPT, we'd upload a contract like this, right? It's going to extract this text for us. And then when it extracts all the text, it's going to send that information into Make.com. And this is how we receive that information via a webhook, right? So it's a really fancy way of just saying, hey, I'm going to receive information. Now, when you click webhook, you're going to have to create a new one, right? And all you have to add here is a name. Now, please take the 2 seconds to name this accordingly, because the last thing you want to do is wake up in 6 months from now and realize the biggest regret of your life was deciding to name every single webhook by the same name. And then when you ultimately need to find something based on the name, you can't because there's like 600 different webhooks. Okay, maybe I'm being a bit extreme, but just spend some time making sure you name this properly. I'm going to call this ChatGPT example webhook. And IP restrictions, you can limit who gets access to this, but for me personally, I don't ever do that. Now, here's the webhook that was created for you. There's two parts to this. I'm going to copy and paste this in. You got a unique ID here, and then you got make.com's server here, right? So what this means is that this unique identifier here is isolated only to this webhook. So if you were to send data to this, it's going to land in this particular scenario. It's not going to land in your other scenarios. It's not going to land in other accounts. It's not going to land anywhere. It's unique solely to this workflow. So as soon as you send information to here, it's going to be captured and you're going to process whatever it is, like dumping information into a Google Sheet, just like this, right? So that's how a webhook works, right? So you can go ahead and copy it by clicking the copy address to clipboard down here. And we're going to use that later in this step. So it's going to prompt you to just click welcome here. And you can go ahead and click welcome. And what I created here is going to walk you through step by step how this works. So the first thing is we need to just copy and paste the webhook in here. Now, how I created it is you want to first copy the actual main URL, which is hook.us1.make.com. It might be slightly different for you if you're in like Europe or Asia or whatever, but whatever the base URL is, just copy that in here. And then afterwards, we want to copy in the path, which is the second part of this webhook. I'm going to copy this back in again. So we just delete the base URL and paste in the unique identifier here. Right. And the reason we're doing this is because we're going to create the code for you to send information to, but we're breaking it out into different pieces here because you can have multiple different tasks that your personal assistant in ChatGPT could do. So for example, maybe the first thing that we create here is how you can upload contracts. The second thing is uploading receipts. The third thing is creating ClickUp project management tasks so that your team can, be able to accomplish whatever it is that you want them to accomplish, right? So we're going to create different workflows, different scenarios in make.com for every single task that you want to be done. So coming back in here, we're good to go. The last thing here, step 3, is choose actions. So for this path, please specify the action that you want to automate, right? And then just add in any extra fields that you want, right? So once again, adding in what you want to have done and what fields you want to receive back. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to, the action is I want to extract key information from contracts that I upload. Okay, perfect. And in PDF form. And then the fields that I want are invoice number, date, start time, end time. This will be subjective to whatever it is that you're doing, but I'm just going to say start time, end time, maybe type of event. Just in my space, we're in the wedding space, so it kind of makes sense for what we're doing here. You can have total price, tax, and let's just say discount, right? So we'll go ahead and we're going to enter in this information. So it's just going to confirm that this is the field that we entered in and the action that we want. And it's going to generate this OpenAI schema for us. Now, this might look a bit complicated and overwhelming if you don't know programming. Don't worry, the only thing you actually have to do with this is just copy the code here, right? But essentially, in a nutshell, what this is doing is we're just creating specific code to program ChatGPT to understand how to deal with this particular task that you want it to do. So this is all the information that ChatGPT needs to know in order to be able to extract that PDF, upload it and send it to make.com for us to enter it into Google Sheets. Okay, cool. So that's the first step done, right? So we've created this schema. And then the next step is we're going to click Explore GPTs down here. And there's a lot of featured things that you can add in here if you want to, or training stuff. But for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to create our own custom GPT. Now, I've actually already typed this all in, so instead of typing it again, I'm just going to copy and paste what I've already made. But I named it my super awesome personal assistant because it is super awesome. And the description is just going to be saying this will allow me to integrate in make.com, right? Now for the instructions, this is the important part. This is essentially how you want this custom GPT to work, right? This is how it's going to integrate into make.com, right? Based on the rules that you provide here. So first of all, you're saying that it's a very helpful personal and executive assistant that's going to be automating tasks for a client, which is going to be you in this case. And the goal is to automate all of those tasks, and each task will have a separate webhook, right, in make.com, which will receive the data. So what we need to do is send that into make.com, and that's going to be later processed to do other tasks, such as sending it to Google Sheets, right? And all that kind of stuff. There's 4 main rules here, and you can add on to this, but this is kind of like giving ChatGPT the instructions on how you want it to act and perform. Number 1 is that we need all of the information to send data to the webhook, right? So for example, if we want to dump in a contract and we don't have certain information, well, it should definitely ask us, hey, what is this missing information that you should probably have in here, right? And the second thing is that if there's things that are missing, it doesn't just once again process it, but it actually asks you. It's like, hey, Jono, or what's the value here? Can you tell me the value here? Because I can't seem to find it. So instead of just publishing it, it'll double check with you first. And then number 3 is that in certain instances, maybe you ask ChatGPT, like, hey, can you write me a blog post because I want to send this to social media? What you can do is you can have ChatGPT write it, and you have the right to say, hey, I like what you wrote, and upload that into make.com. But if I don't like what you wrote, then I don't want to use what you just wrote, and what I initially said, you just use that instead, right? The last thing is that we have a lot of different words to trigger this webhook, right? So the words send, process, create, automate, do, complete, all of that kind of stuff is going to trigger the webhook, right? And you can add in any other words that you may want to use. Now, we're going to just make sure that all of the capabilities here are checked off. And then we're going to create a new action down here. And this is the bread and butter of this whole system here. This is where we've got to pop in that schema that we created. So we're going to go over to this generator here. And in step 4, we generated the OpenAI schema, right? So we're going to copy that in, and then we're just going to paste it here. And that's pretty much good to go. We can click create, and we're going to make sure that it's only assigned to me. Now you can share it with other people if you want. You can even make it on the store, available on the store. But the thing is you have your private webhooks on there, so I probably wouldn't make that accessible to the public. Okay, sweet. We can go ahead and click View GPT, and we can just get this started and see, hey, is this going to work? Are we going to be able to get that data in this webhook? So just make sure that before you close out of this, you click OK to remove that red warning there. We're going to click run once. I'm not sure if my face blocked that off, but in case it did, we're just clicking run once here. And this is for test purposes, right? So we're just waiting for data to come in. If you were to send data from ChatGPT into make.com without running it, you're not going to be able to see the results in a test mode. So we're just running it to test it out. And let's go ahead and try this. So in the attached file, we'll upload the contract from the computer, open this up, and just say, please process this contract for me. And whenever it's done loading in, we can click send. And let's see the results here. Cool. So it's just confirming all the details. Would you like me to send this information to the webhook right now? Yes, please send this data to the webhook right now. Okay, sweet. And then it's going to start the action. Just going to make sure this is running, which it is. We're going to confirm. And then it says the data has been successfully sent to the webhook. If you need anything else, feel free to ask. Okay, sweet. So we have all this data, which is awesome. So automatically from this contract over here, we have the invoice number, right? 9535D sorry, 5935D. And then we have the date and the start time. This looks like the same as before. The total balance here is $4.20. Taxes, 20 cents. Awesome. Perfect. So this looks great to me, right? The next step that we want to do is just maybe we want to dump this into Google Sheets here, right? And we don't just have to stop with Google Sheets. You could do so many other applications as well. So just in Google Sheets, you can see like there's a lot of different things that can be done here, right? In our case, what we want to do is just create a fresh sheet like this and just add a row for every single contract that we update. So how we do that is we're going to click add a row under the row section. And there's going to be a couple things that we need to do right here, right? We'll go top to bottom. In the connection, you're going to want to connect your Google account to make.com, right? So you can just add a connection. It's going to ask you to sign in, authenticate it. This will allow make.com to make changes on your behalf in Google Sheets, like adding rows, for example. And then once you're good to go there, you can choose your account, right? Now we have to actually find the exact sheet that we want to dump this data in. What we can do is go ahead and create a new Google Sheet. And I just went to sheets.google.com there, and I'm going to click this massive blank spreadsheet here. Okay, cool. And once this loads in, we can title this appropriately. So this will be, test contract. And maybe we want to add in some headers here, right? So I'm just going to take a look and see kind of what other things we added in here. So let's go one by one through this. So invoice number, and then we'll do date and start time and time, type of event, and total price, tax, and discount. Okay, sweet. So these are the main metrics that we want to track here. And we need to find the spreadsheet. How we do that is through the ID. Now, this ID is actually in the URL. So you can see that it's everything after the document or the D/ and before the /edit. We'll copy that in here. And for the search method, there's multiple different ways you can find this document. What I like to do is just select from all and dump that ID in here. It's going to automatically find that document. If you did receive an error here and it's like 304 forbidden, don't freak out. You just have to connect the right account here. Sometimes what happens, especially with Google, and it's kind of frustrating, is like you'll automatically log into one account and you might have multiple accounts, right? So just make sure that whatever account you created this spreadsheet in is also the account that you are connecting into make.com here. Now, in the spreadsheet name, there only is one. This is essentially the tab name. So if you were to come down here, and I'm not sure if my face will, unfortunately, my face will not unblock this, but you can add multiple tabs to the spreadsheet, right? And if you do, these will appear here. And then we just want to essentially add this information into this Google Sheet. So we have invoice number. Now, we received invoice number from this Webhook, right? Which we received data from ChatGPT right here. So this is called mapping. And what mapping is you're just essentially you're just placing the values into the corresponding columns that you want the data to be in. So what I mean by that is invoice number that we received from that webhook is going to go into the invoice section here. Just taking a step back, you can see the data that came in right from this webhook. We got the invoice number, we got the date, we got the start time, we got the end time, and it's nicely delivered to us, right? So that we can individually go through one at a time and take these and enter them into the spreadsheet, right? So kind of coming back into this, we're going to add the invoice number into the invoice number section, the date to the date section, the start time into the start time section, the end time into the end time, type of event, all the way down. We're going to add in all of these fields that we want. We'll click OK. And right before we test this one more time, what we're going to do is we're going to have another webhook here, which is going to be a webhook response. And I went pretty fast there. I'll back up and try this again. There's only one thing we can do here. A webhook response is essentially sending a response back to ChatGPT, right? So we're going to send a response back, and we just want to, let ourselves know that it was processed and everything's been sent accordingly, right? So kind of coming back into make.com, we can say, please send a message back to the user. Please send this message back to the user. Data has been successfully stored in Google Sheets. P.S. You're awesome. Okay, perfect. Okay, awesome. A little bit of flattery goes a long way, right? Awesome. We'll click run here, and I'm just going to say, please send this data again, and let's see if it worked. So it's starting the action. Because ChatGPT is super nice, it's going to ask if I want to confirm it again, which I obviously do. And kind of coming back here, it did run. You can see the results by these, I like to call them clouds. These kind of look like clouds to me, even though they're just circles or maybe thought bubbles, I don't know. But you can see the data that's coming in here, right? And then you can also see in this, two things, the input and the output. The input is essentially what we received from the past modules, so what we got from the webhook, right? And you can see the values that we got here, like the invoice number, the date, start time, so you can see what input this particular module Google Sheets got. And you can also see the output here too, right? So the output doesn't necessarily provide us with as much data, but it's just essentially saying things like, these are the updated rows, right? Or the updated columns or whatever. Not super useful, but in case you want to take a look and see, you can. And then lastly, it also says here the input, right? Please send this message back to the user. Data has been successfully stored. So this is what we wrote in. And then it gives us a status 200, which is a status code that says everything's good to go. Coming back into the Google Sheet here, we can see the data has now been entered here, except for the discount. And the reason there's no discount was because there's no discount on the documents in the first place. If there was, then it would have been added in here. And we also have our message here, right? It says the data has been successfully sent again and stored in Google Sheets. If you have any more tasks or need further assistance, just let me know. Like, so positive, so nice, so friendly. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, perfect. So we've successfully set up the first custom task that we can send data to in make.com. Just a couple other things here, right? You don't just have to send things to Google Sheets. Maybe, for example, you want to add another module here, just as an example. And maybe you want to add it to QuickBooks as well. So in QuickBooks, you can say, let's just say contract or invoice here. You can create an invoice and then you can add that data into QuickBooks. Now, I don't have a direct integration into QuickBooks, but that's something that you could very easily do, right? Another thing you could do is you could be like, hey, I want to add this into HubSpot. So we come into HubSpot and maybe we look at everything that they have to offer. And let's say we enter and create, it could say we could create or update a contact. So for example, maybe you're like, hey, this person just paid and signed. Let's add a tag onto them saying contract one so that, we can identify this person as somebody that has paid and maybe signed or whatever, right? So that could be another use case example here. And the list goes on and on and on. There's just really so many different use cases here, right? That's what makes make.com so powerful. And it's just such a time saver. So lastly, what I want to do is just wrap up here by going through how you can set up another task in ChatGPT so that instead of just uploading, for example, contracts, well, you can do everything else as well. So what we're going to do in this example is we're going to come up to the personal assistant and we are going to click Edit GPT, right? And just gonna, okay, it doesn't look like, okay, here we go, sweet. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and grab this action again, okay? We're gonna come back out here or what we can do is we can just go back into the exact, ChatGPT here. And we want to create a fresh message here, and we just want to add on another task into this particular automated system. So how we do that is we can just prompt GPT to say, hey, I want to add in another make.com webhook for another task into this OpenAI schema. Can you help me do that? And we're just going to wait for its response here. Certainly, I can help you add another webhook for the new task in OpenAI schema. Could you please provide details about the new webhook task, specifically on the new endpoint path, similar to whatever, the operation ID, a summary of what the new task does, the schema for the request body, and expected responses, right? We can actually just go ahead and pretty much skip over these and the operation ID. And all we really need to do is just provide a general summary of what the task does and the new webhook endpoints here. So we're going to come back here. I'll save this. We're going to open up a new scenario. And we're going to add in another webhook module here so that we can pass in that webhook ID for ChatGPT to use. So coming back in, we got the big purple circle, and we're going to click webhooks one more time. We're going to select custom webhook. Okay. And we'll create a new one. And let's say this is ClickUp ChatGPT ClickUp task. We can click save here. Now we have the URL once again. We'll just copy that. And coming back in here, what we're going to do is we're going to paste that in. You don't need to add in the root URL here, just the unique identifier here. And let's just add in all the additional information that it's also asking for as well. So here's the endpoint path. Here's a summary of what the task does. I want to be able to send data to make.com so that I can create a ClickUp project management task. This is all about creating a task. Here are the required fields. We need name or title, description, a due date, assignee, priority, and what else do we actually need here? Let's take a look and see. I think that looks pretty much good to go. And operation ID, you can make up, but relate it to this ClickUp task, and that's it. Sweet. So it's going to go ahead and it's going to add on another path here. Now you can see in this paths section, there's actually first our original path, which is to extract contract info, right? And now what we're doing is we're telling it, hey, I want you to add another one down here, which is the second webhook URL that we're adding here. And this is create a ClickUp task. And here's the summary, create a ClickUp project management task. And it's just gonna add in all the properties like title of the task, description of the task, due date of the task, person assigned to the task, which is awesome. And then that's it, right? We have our entire schema here. Again, we can just copy this. We'll come back into the interface here. We're going to edit this exact schema. And we're going to go once again back into the actions here and just paste this in, right? And that should be good to go. We can update this. Well, it's already automatically updating. I'll click update one more time. And then we're going to view the GPT. And let's take a look and see if this actually works, right? So we'll click run once again. And in the personal assistant no code, what we're going to do is we're just going to say, please create a ClickUp task for me. It's going to say, hey, hold on a second. What information do you actually want? Which is awesome. And we're going to paste this in here. And I'm just going to say test for the title, test description for the description. So unique. Tomorrow for the due date, assigned to myself, and the priority is normal. And we'll go ahead, enter that in here. It's going to confirm and it's going to process. Coming back here, we have all of the information here. Now we can go ahead and we can essentially set this up, hook it up to ClickUp, and then have that run. So now we have in our custom GPT 2 different tasks. One, to process extracting information out of contracts so that we can enter that into a Google Sheet, or we can enter that into, for example, QuickBooks or HubSpot or whatever it is that you're using. And then the second task is essentially allowing you to create tasks in ClickUp and assign them either to yourself or other people as well. So it can get really sophisticated and allow you to really at the tip of your fingers have a personal assistant that instead of paying, maybe tens or thousands of dollars for somebody very part-time up to a full-time salary in Canada or the United States, you can just pay $20. And that's pretty sweet. That's pretty good value, right? So I hope you guys found value in this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe down below. It really helps let me know that I'm doing a good job. But also, more importantly, I'm going to be releasing content just like this video pretty much every single day. So if you found value in this, I'm sure you're going to love the other stuff I'm releasing too. If you guys have questions, leave it in the comment section down below as well. And make sure, as always, to give me a thumbs up. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.